What is up, guys? Jake from A&J Reacts here. Welcome to today's video, and I have a guest today talking about a certain subject. This is Luca, UCFB student of Wembley, studying football business and sports law, and he also happens to be my little brother, and he's going to be joining us for today's video, giving an insight. What's up, little man?
Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, fine. I just saw you about half an hour ago, so yeah, pretty fine since then. Now, we're just going to be going into kind of a situation that is currently happening at United. We're going to be looking at, obviously the manager, the shtuck they've been in terms of off the pitch, losing a lot of valuation in the stock market, etc. Just starting off basically on the pitch. Still very early on in the season, obviously, and to most people, they have made some good signings, the likes of Mason Mount, Højlund up top, etc., and high expectations were made of them into the field. Just currently right now, what is your input on Manchester United this season and your expectations of the squad currently?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a continuation of years of decline, years of failure, and years of neglect from the owners in the sense of getting the infrastructure right around the club. You see a lot on social media, and then pundits like Gary Neville saying that, they will lose a game and then the Glazers are to blame. Like, after Arsenal beaten the other week, somehow the Glazers were to blame. They have pumped in a lot of money, but the management of the club is not great. That's the issue. Not necessarily the owners, because all you can ask for is them to donate money to the club and to have money down. I'm not a fan of the transfer window they've had at all. I don't think they've spent their money wisely. I don't think Erik ten Hag is the second coming of Jesus that United say that he is. I don't think they have the team to compete for the title anywhere near it.
I agree with you there.
I think the so-called best players that have in that team aren't big game players. You've already seen in the first 4 games of the season, Casemiro looks completely off it compared to last season. Whoever decided to make Bruno the captain should lose their job immediately, because you cannot have someone who is a crybaby on the pitch, who whinges and moans when things don't go his way, as the captain. You then have, a team like Man United without striker. They've signed Højlund injured, but an unproven striker. And then you have wingers such as Anthony and other players that are just not good enough for Man United. And, we talk about them being away off it from winning the league title. They haven't won it since 2012, 2013, whatever it was, the season.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
That can't happen. That cannot happen. And we're talking about, since then, Man City have won 6, 7 league titles. It's embarrassing. If you're Man United, are in a world of pain, and I fear for them for the rest of the season. Yeah,
but to be honest, I agree with almost everything you just said there. Well, spot on. I don't think Ten Hag is going to be the coach that is the one that's going to take them back to where they should be for a club of Man United, is to be competing year in, year out for the league title, getting far in Champions League. Like, we're talking about Man United here, the biggest club in England, without question. And in terms of the signings as well, like this window, I don't know about you, but for me, Mason Mount is... he's only played, 1 game, and then he had an injury, so I can't be too harsh on him already, Mason Mount. I can't be too critical of him yet, because he's not really had a chance to perform, and he's out injured at the minute. But going into it, I don't think he was the midfielder that Manchester United need, and I do find him to be quite overrated. And then, like you mentioned, Højlund, he is an unproven striker. They have bought him on potential, like what he could potentially be. Like last year at Atalanta, he was a decent striker. I wouldn't say he was one of the best strikers in the league. And for the money that he went for, £80 odd million, that's a striker for me that if you're paying that much money for him, he's a striker that is ready to be banging in the goals left, right and centre. And he is just not that. And it's a bit too critical to go on him as well, because he's only played one game, and that was a substitute appearance against Arsenal. But it's kind of most of the players that they have, it's been quite disappointing. Like, you look at Rafael Varane when he came in, a very experienced player that's played at the top flight of football. Casemiro, who in my opinion came in as the best defensive midfielder on the planet from leaving Real Madrid, which I was pretty shocked with. But I've got to be honest, most of them players, inconsistent. And then also Onana, for example, I thought he was going to come in and actually do the job. He's been poor so far. So, on the pitch, I would agree with you quite heavily that they're quite far off for where they want to be. And like for you, well, what is the one area where they really need to rectify?
I think the issue of going forward and defensively, I think that midfield can do a job, because I think Amrabat with Casemiro and Bruno works. Mason Mount will not work at all if you're playing with Bruno Fernandes. I am a strong believer that Varane was a good defender alongside Ramos at Real Madrid. Since he's moved away from there, I think he's been consistently poor. He hasn't been a leader. He hasn't been very good at all. He's making lots of mistakes. And we're talking about, at this point, a World Cup winner, multiple Champions League winner, an experienced player who looks like a schoolboy when he plays for Man United at the moment. And he's been shown up by Martinez, who also isn't an extraordinary defender compared to others. He had a good start, but he's also got mistakes in him. And the Man United have been crying out for a proper striker for many, many years. Now, Martial somehow is still staying at that club. They tried to sign Kane, but then for some reason they opted out of not trying to buy him, which is just bizarre, because you buy Harry Kane, you're automatically in a title race.
Yeah.
It's simple as you are in a title race. And they've decided to opt for someone who's not proven, too young, but injured. But I just think overall, I think that defence will let them down. I think across the whole back four, I just don't think it's got character. It hasn't got any leaders in there, and they're going forward. You've got Marcus Rashford. You've got Marcus Rashford, who last season had a good 2-month period, and that was it. And then he dropped off. Last season, up until when Man United won the Carabao Cup, since they won that, they went to the beach, and they were just dreadful. And they were very fortunate that they did miss out on top four, because Liverpool were breathing down their necks. But I just think going forward in the next windows, they need to sign a proper centre forward, and they need to sign proper defenders, because...
Well, I do think a centre-half pairing of Martinez and Varane at most points last season does work. For me, the big issue with Varane, like, I would agree with you, like, he is nowhere near as good as he used to be when he was alongside Ramos, and I think that partnership did help him out a lot, and is quite a difference in class compared to the Varane at Real Madrid to the Varane now. But I think the injuries that he has had as well, he's had more injuries since joining Manchester United than he had in his whole career at Real Madrid. That will have an effect on a player. When you're consistently getting injured, I do think that is going to start altering your performances somewhat. And we've seen...
Of course it does.
But I do...
I also had to say Thomas Partey. It just shows you the quality of the Premier League. Thomas Partey got barely injured at Atletico Madrid, and in his first season at Arsenal, he was out longer in his first season at Arsenal than his entirety at Atletico Madrid, which is about 4 years. I don't want to be... Yeah, about 4 years. And also, if you're coming in at that experience, and Man United paid... I don't think it was peanuts. I can't exactly recall.
I think it was around £40 million at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy money, but it's not cheap. But then at the same time, for what you thought you were buying, a World Cup winner and everything else that went with it, I just don't think it was. It's nothing special. You look at the partnership that you've got at Arsenal now, Gabriel and Saliba. Man City. Stones and. Diaz or Kanji, whoever it may be. But then even you go to other clubs. You go to Newcastle. You've got Shaw and Botman. You've got good pairs. They don't have a good pair. Varane and Martinez just don't work with each other. You just look at both of them and you think, what's going on here? I just don't get it.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, just your personal prediction, I mean, where would you rank Manchester United currently right now in terms of all the teams in England? Like, would you see them as one of the top runners for Champions League football? I mean, you've made it clear that they're nowhere near title contenders, or do you just base them as a Europa League team?
I think the saving grace of Manchester United is that they've got a very, very good home record, and that home record kept them afloat last season. I wouldn't rule them out of getting top four, because they always will be there and thereabouts, because the other teams below them aren't that great either. But I would say they will be in and around, come end of the season, around the top four position. Whether they finish inside it, I don't know, because it's still early and things can change.
Yeah.
But as of now, from what I've seen and looking at everyone else, I probably would say, from what you've seen, they won't get top four. But obviously things will change, and I think their home form will get them enough points to probably get top four. But as of now, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, all the issues that they may have on the pitch over the last few years, they have recently had a lot of bad luck off the pitch, particularly the valuation of the club itself, going down over $500 million recently in the stock market. And I know you're obviously studying business at the minute. Well, what is your thoughts on that? And is there anything on Manchester United's part which they can turn it round?
Well, I mean, because we saw at the end of the last season, the Glazers said that they would put their shares up for sale to the club. Now, obviously, when it comes to the sale of a club, the shares will have a big impact up and down, because all the talks of the Qataris and then Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in to pay the money to buy Manchester United, the stock prices would have gone up. And people are saying, there's got to be a big change at United. And the Glazers slapped $6 billion down on the table, so this is how much we want. And then when they went back public on the stock exchange, and then their value went down $500 million, their share price, I don't know if it's rebounded, now it's about $19 a share. About a month ago, it was $24 a share, so it's gone down. Yeah,
so a significant decrease, yeah.
It's got absolutely no relevance at all in terms of buying of the club, because I remember people saying as soon as it happened that, they've lost $500 million, blah, blah, blah. It's irrelevant to the sale of the club. Absolutely irrelevant, because now they're not selling, it's irrelevant to buyers. So people were always, saying about, the buyers going to pull out and stuff like that, the Qataris and stuff, because of the Glazers and the value of the club's gone down. It's irrelevant. It's got absolutely no leverage in the deal. But it just shows you that the Glazers are using Manchester United as just a cash cow. They're just using it as a commodity. Because I remember when Ronaldo re-signed for United a couple of seasons ago, it was I think the quickest selling kit Man United have ever had, and one of the quickest selling in the Premier League. Yeah, where you had a shirt, and then the sales went through the roof, and then the stock price for Manchester United went up considerably. And then when things started going a bit pear-shaped and things started going down, I think the Glazers sold 15% of their shares and made a huge profit on them shares that they sold. And it just shows you that they're using it as a commodity, and they don't have so much care for the club. But it's just a reflection of the position that Manchester United are in, because you look at the valuation of Arsenal now is sky high.
Yeah.
Compared to that's what we've been on the pitch, and then you look at Manchester City, of course. But it's just a whole combination of things that are going pear-shaped for them.
Yeah, and in terms of the ownership, in your mind, there's no doubt that in order for United to go forward and go back to what they once were, do you think most definitely they need new owners for that?
Well, they need, forget about the financial side of things, because the United fans are like whinging babies that they haven't got the right Christmas present. That's exactly what they're doing, because Man United have one of the highest net spends in the league since the Glazers have been in. They've consistently spent over 150 plus million in the transfer window. They've bought big name players and it just hasn't worked. Where the Glazers are a problem is because they don't have much care for the club, that they haven't got the setup within the club to run it properly. So you look at Arsenal, for example. After the European Super League fell through and there was all the fallout from it, the Kroenkes woke up and then Edu and Arteta was put together and the proper structure of the club was put together. So, right, we'll give you the money to build the team. We'll back you all the way, no matter how bad it gets on the pitch for a period of time. They threw the money at Edu and Arteta. They found the players between them who they wanted, and now they've got clear vision. And now look, again, this season, the club is contenders to Manchester City. And we've got a strong, stable club. The fans are on board. Everyone's on board. Where Man United don't have that, where the owners aren't putting the right people in place to say, right, we're going to get you in. You're going to be our chief negotiator. You're going to be our sporting director. You're going to work with this manager. They're not doing it because you look at the players that they signed over the last, even before Ten Hag, under Solskjaer and then Ragnick and then Mourinho. On paper, some of them are really good signings, but they just haven't worked because there's no cohesion. There's nothing at the club. There's nothing. It's not. You'd be mistaken to think that this was Manchester United, the way the club run.
Yeah, 100%.
And how toxic the fans are getting, and then the way they perform. You know, Man United have not, since Ten Hag has come in, they have failed to win a game away from home against the top 9 from last season into this season.
Only gaining a point, I think, last year out of 9 or 10 games.
Against Spurs, I think it was. But we're not just talking about the provincial top 6, we're talking about Brighton here, Brentford, Aston Villa, then you've got Tottenham, you've got Liverpool, Arsenal, City. All these lot, they didn't win away from home against all them lot. Now, it's Man United. It's not. It's just it's gone. I mean, I don't like the club at all.
I wouldn't expect you to as an Arsenal fan.
But I just don't think future-wise. I think the Glazers will have to sell if Man United want to get back to compete for trophies and top 4 Premier League title. They'll have to go, and the new owners will have to spend as they're doing, and to revamp the whole club because it's completely rotten to the core.